Good afternoon, fellow Plexers. Today we're going to help Adam accomplish what he wants. And what he'd like to do is he'd like to have multiple versions of, let's say, the first and second Aliens movie. But he doesn't want to see all the different versions in his library from the library tab. He wants to click on one folder that has a poster to then see movies in that folder. Plex doesn't have that option, but it has other options that can make it look just like what he wants it to look like. So to start off with, I'm on my older Synology NAS with a test server running in a Docker container with all real public domain media on it. And I have to make it clear that I'm not going to use real media. I'm going to use media that is basically these little dummy files. Good evening, fellow Plexers. Just 15 seconds of me talking. They're not real movies. So what I've done is, I went the wrong way. My folder structure is always a shared network folder, and then I have a media folder. It could be named anything you want. And then inside that media folder, let's back up. Here's the media folder. Inside that media folder, I use a sort library for every type of every type of Plex media library except for a music library. There's not really much chance of any of us having multiple music libraries, but we might have multiple libraries for movies. My examples here are a 4K library, a documentary one, a DVR library, a kids library, and then the main movie library. So I use source IDs in my folder names for movies and the file names, and I use FileBot to extract media characteristics to insert into the file name. I'm not going to be doing any of that today. And what I have done, I've prepped the first two Alien movies. This is set up to be named after versioning, and there's a support article that we'll get to in a second. The second movie is set up to automatically use the edition tag feature, which is a Plex Pass feature. So, if you're not aware of it, Plex has all kinds of support articles. You can go to support.plex.tv/articles. You can use your web browser to search, find, and search for anything you want. Like if you're interested in collections, you can just search the article and you'll get to the collections support article, which I already have open. So it's important to name your media according to name and structure your media according to Plex's support articles. This is showing just a simple movie, music, and TV show library. I've inserted the sort folder between the main media library and the actual Plex library. Otherwise, if you have 5 movie libraries, they'd all be in line with all your other different Plex libraries. I like the nested structure. So before multiple editions came out as a feature, all we had was the ability to name with a versioning system, and Plex is showing one movie folder and then the movie listed 2 times at different resolutions. Well, this space is an official separator. That can come after the year or after the source ID. Now remember, a lot of us use the source ID from TMDB or IMDb. So as long as you have that space, anything that comes after it isn't going to be used for Plex matching, and it's simply for your knowledge to know what the file is comprised of. So you might have a -720p, space 720p, SD, maybe your edition, director's cut, whatever you want. And that's for the old way of doing things. Multiple editions shows us how to name with this feature, and this comes directly after the year or the year and the source ID with a space in between. I don't know if Plex has a good example. They might. Oh, and you can use a period to replace a space dash space, but you can't use a period to replace natural spaces. That would be like a scene release file name, and Plex doesn't work well with those. Okay, then we get to the collections support article. I'm going to show you that there's different ways to view the collection, and one of those ways will get Adam to where he wants to be. Let's see if I can find it here. It's the library display option. We'll show this feature. So you can work on your own with these support articles. The more you know about Plex and the more you read support articles, the better you are. But for something like this, we also have to talk about collections that are listed at TMDB. So if you go into any movie and you drop down, if it's part of a TMDB collection, you'll see it here. So here's all the movies in the collection. I want to turn that feature on with my library before I scan anything in, because this could give someone trouble if they don't have the feature turned on. So I'm in my library. I'll hit the three dots to manage edit, and I'll go to the advanced tab. And normally when I set this up, I change this minimum automatic collection size from 0 or disabled to 2. And that means I have to have at least 2 movies that are part of a TMDB collection for Plex to automatically create that collection for me. And the default option is collections show with their, or show collections and their items. So we're not going to change anything. All we're going to do is add this, the versioning way, to Plex. Well, actually, let's add them both. We don't need to do this one at a time. So I'll drop these into my main movie library, and this server is set up to detect file system changes automatically. So that's why it started to scan all by itself. Okay, so we've added one movie from 1979 and 5 movies to the collection. Plus, we've got the second movie 4 times. So this is our edition tag naming. And you see how the edition tags popped in here. Well, this is the old-fashioned example, but before we go too far, let's go into the collection. So, each of these versions is still part of the collection, so they got scanned in automatically. And here's the original version. But if we click these 3 dots, we'll see that there's a play version option, and Plex just thinks these are all the same because all it's really looking for with this is the megabits per second and the resolution. Now, if you've got a very high-end server and you've got multiple copies of one movie, but you don't have the greatest internet, or maybe you're sharing with friends and family that don't have the greatest internet, Plex will decide which of these versions of the movie to play all by itself based on what it thinks it can get through on a direct stream. And that's all Plex cares about. There's no way to label those movie files so that anything different than this shows up. Your users or yourself would have no idea which one you're going to play, which is why this is a better feature. But ignore this feature. Let's pretend that that has not been released yet, and I'll show you the old-fashioned way we used to do it, which was simply to hit the 3 dots and we choose split apart. Answer yes. Now those movies are split apart, and if I go to the collection tab, now they all show up with the other versions of the second sequel or the second movie, which has the better option of the edition tag naming. I know this might be confusing. So, before we had this better option, this is what we had to do. We'd go to the info. We'd see how we named this. Oh, this is remastered. I'm just going to copy that, go to general, and just add something to the title. And you see, this doesn't look bad, but this looks better. Let's do all that we need to do. All right, so this is the theatrical version. I don't really need to rename that one because just the default theatrical version is just the regular version, right? All right, so this one is labeled unrated. So we'll add that to the sort title. And let's see what this one is. This is the director's cut. All right, so that's more manual to do it that way. And that's what you still have to do today without a Plex pass. Now, they're all going to show up in the collection, all 8 items. The collection was created automatically because of our advanced library settings. But now, Adam's not happy because he just wants one poster for these 4 and for those 4. So let's create a manual collection. So we'll select all of them. We'll hit edit. We'll hit tag. And it's already in the Alien collection, but now we need to create a collection just for that one movie. Now I have to click add, save changes. So that added a 5th poster. But let's do the same thing for the sequel. This will make sense in a bit. Okay, so there is no poster associated with either of these manual collections. So you could add that from the poster database yourself. But let's clean up the looks of this so Adam Paul will appreciate it better. So we'll go to Manage Library, Edit, go to Advanced, and now we'll go back to those 3 different collection options. This is default, show collections with items. But I want to hide items that are in a collection. So now from the library mode, we see the collection made by the TMDB entry. And now we see a collection for the first movie that has all our different versions in there that we've manually named ourselves. And then we see the better option with Aliens, how Plex added the edition tag, the version, well, it is the edition tag after the year. This is much cleaner. So whether it's this way or whether it's this way, well, actually, I don't know. Let's try this.
Good evening, fellow Plexers. This is just a simple...
Let me play this about halfway through.
...to be used in place of a real Plex media file to show how to...
Okay, so this may not be long enough for us to get a little tracking going.
Good evening, fellow...
No, I don't have enough time here to show that this one is half played while the others aren't. So I'm a little unknown on this. With this option where you've used the edition tag naming, you could watch half of this, a third of that, 3/4 of this, and all of that one. And Plex will have this marked watched, and it will have these marked wherever you left off. You may not gain that functionality by splitting these apart. all of these may show up and continue watching, and I could not check that unless I was using a real movie. So the final thing to make this look better is to go to the poster database. And where's my web browser? There we are, 1979. And let's grab a poster for the manual collection. That looks good. Okay, let's do the second movie. What to choose from? I'm going to pick that one. Okay, so we can go in and edit this, add a poster. We could search for a background too. All right, Adam, I think this gives you the look you desire. We're hiding all the movies, and they're only showing up in the collection. So from the collection tab, you can see them all, and then from the library tab, all you see are the collections that the movies are in. So this collection has these 4 movies in that we've kind of manually adjusted the name. But if you have a Plex Pass, it's way too easy to add the edition tag to the file name to have Plex scan it in. So I want to point out one thing. This is better because if your server ever dies, your actual Plex server, but your media is intact, and you can't save the original Plex server install, and you have to build a new Plex server and scan all your media in again, to already have the file names prepped to scan in this way saves you a lot of work if you've done this frequently. All you have to do is recreate this manual collection, set your libraries up the right way to hide movies that are in a collection, and you have less work to do to recover. So I hope this is helpful. There's really a lot of options to bend Plex to your will, even if there's not a direct way to make Plex do what you want. There may be an indirect way of using all their different rules in your favor to get the end result that you want. So happy Plexing and Happy New Year. It's getting close.